Stop explaining yourself, because the more you talk, the less they actually hear. Let's be real. Nobody grows up dreaming about defending their every move. Yet somehow, that's where most of us end up, constantly explaining why we chose this path, why we're moving slower, why we're not where we should be yet. And it starts innocent. You think if you just explain it better, they'll finally get it. You think clarity will earn respect. But here's the crazy part. It rarely does. It took me a long time to notice the pattern. Every time I explained myself, I walked away feeling smaller. Not relieved, not understood. Smaller. Like I just handed over a piece of my confidence and said, "Here, you decide if this is valid." And that feeling? That quiet regret on the drive home? Yeah, that hit me different. Because nobody tells you this growing up. But explaining yourself too much is a form of asking for permission. Permission to exist. Permission to try. Permission to fail. And once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. Every extra sentence starts sounding like an apology you never owed. And it usually happens when you're already unsure. You're chasing something bigger, something risky. Maybe a new career, maybe a comeback after a loss. And the people around you, friends, family, co-workers, they ask questions that sound supportive but feel heavy. So what's your plan exactly? How long is this going to take? Are you sure this is realistic? And suddenly you're on trial. So you start over-explaining. You talk faster. You add details they didn't ask for. You bring receipts. And while you're talking, you can feel it. Their doubt isn't shrinking, it's growing. Because the more you explain, the more it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself too. Nobody talks about this, but confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. And silence? Silence is uncomfortable. Especially when you're not fully solid yet. Silence forces people to sit with their own assumptions. And most of us hate that. We'd rather fill the space than let the room get awkward. But here's the turning point I didn't expect. One day I just stopped explaining. Not out of arrogance, out of exhaustion. I didn't announce it. I didn't make a speech. I just answered questions shorter, cleaner, no justifications. No emotional footnotes. And the room felt different. People leaned in instead of leaning back. People listened instead of interrupting. And that's when I realized something dangerous. What if the power was never in the explanation? What if it was always in the silence I was afraid to use? And if that's true, what else have you been giving away every time you over-explain? Silence feels scary because it exposes you, and exposure is where most people fold. Let's be honest. Silence feels like losing control at first. When you don't explain yourself, your mind starts racing. You imagine what they're thinking. You assume the worst. You think, they probably think I'm stupid, or lazy, or lost. And your instinct kicks in, fix it, say something. Say anything. Just don't let the silence sit. But here's the crazy part. Silence only feels weak if you're still trying to be liked. And that realization, that one stings. Because most of us don't want to admit how much our decisions are shaped by approval. Not success, approval. When you explain yourself, you're trying to control the narrative. You're trying to manage their reaction before it even happens. And that sounds smart on the surface, but underneath it is fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being judged. Fear of standing alone in your choice. I remember sitting across from someone who questioned my direction. Old me would have jumped in with a 5-minute TED talk about my vision. Instead, I just paused, I nodded, and I said, "I hear you." Then I stopped talking, and the silence stretched. It got uncomfortable for them. They started filling the space. They softened their tone. They backtracked a little, and that's when it clicked. Silence flips the power dynamic. When you don't rush to explain, people start explaining themselves to you, and nobody warns you about that shift. This is where everything changed for me. I realized silence isn't passive. It's active restraint. It's choosing not to leak your energy into rooms that haven't earned it. It's saying, I trust my direction enough not to defend it. And yeah, silence can be dangerous, but not in the way people think. It's dangerous to old versions of you, the people pleaser, the overthinker, the version that needed a nod of approval to move forward. Silence kills that version fast. Because when you stop explaining, you're forced to build real certainty. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't shake when someone raises an eyebrow. The kind that doesn't panic when nobody claps yet. And that's when you notice something else. The people who matter don't pressure you to explain. They watch, they wait, they let results talk. The ones who demand explanations? They were never coming with you anyway. So here's the uncomfortable question. If silence makes you this nervous, what part of you is still unsure? And what would happen if you stopped covering that up with words? The less you talk, the more powerful you become. Not because you're hiding, but because you're grounded. Once you stop explaining yourself, life hits different. Conversations change. Your posture changes. Even the way you listen changes. You're no longer waiting for your turn to defend your choices. You're observing, measuring, deciding who actually deserves access to your thoughts. And nobody prepares you for how lonely that can feel at first. Silence creates distance. Distance reveals truth. Some people fade when you stop feeding them explanations. Some relationships weaken. And yeah, that part hurts. Because you start realizing how much of the connection was built on you performing reassurance. But here's the trade-off nobody talks about. You gain peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that lets you move slow without feeling behind. The kind that says, I don't owe you clarity. You'll understand when it shows. This is where discipline gets real. Silence forces you to do the work instead of talking about the work. You can't hide behind potential anymore. You can't sell the dream, you have to build it. And that pressure? It forges something serious inside you. I started noticing how loud the world is. Everyone explaining, everyone announcing, everyone trying to be seen. And in the middle of all that noise, the quiet ones stand out. The ones who don't argue, don't flex, don't explain. They move differently, and people feel it before they understand it. And yes, silence is dangerous because it removes your excuses. When you don't explain delays, you have to face them. When you don't justify comfort, you have to confront discipline. When you don't talk about the comeback, you actually have to make it real. But that's also where confidence is born. Not from being understood, but from understanding yourself fully without witnesses, without applause. So next time you feel the urge to explain your vision, your pace, your healing, pause, breathe, ask yourself one thing. Am I explaining to be clear? Or explaining because I don't trust myself yet? Because once you stop talking, the room doesn't get empty. It gets honest. Silence will cost you, and that's how you know it's working. Let's be real. Nobody talks about the price tag that comes with staying quiet. Everyone loves the idea of mysterious confidence until they feel the isolation that follows it. Because when you stop explaining yourself, some people don't lean in. They walk away. And that's not a flaw. That's the filter. At first, it messes with your head. You replay conversations you didn't have. You wonder if you should have clarified, softened the edges, added context. Your mind whispers, maybe you came off cold. And that inner voice gets loud late at night, when there's no one around to reflect certainty back to you. But here's the crazy part. That discomfort is withdrawal. You're detoxing from external validation. You're breaking an addiction you didn't even know you had, the addiction to being understood immediately. And like any detox, it's uncomfortable before it's freeing. I remember moments where people assumed the wrong thing about me. Old me would have rushed to fix it. New me sat with it. And yeah, it felt unfair. It felt risky, but it also felt honest. Because if someone only respects you when you explain yourself perfectly, do they really respect you or just your performance? Silence exposes motives, yours and theirs. Some people only engage when they can question you, doubt you, poke holes in your plans. When you stop giving them material, they lose interest. And that realization, it hurts more than the silence itself. This is where emotional strength is built, not in proving people wrong, but in letting them be wrong. Letting assumptions exist without correcting them. Letting time reveal truth instead of your mouth trying to rush it. And nobody prepares you for how much patience that takes. Silence is slow. It doesn't give instant wins. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't earn quick praise. Just quietly stacks credibility in the background. Brick by brick, day by day, you start to feel the shift internally before anyone else notices it externally. You're less reactive, less defensive, more selective. You stop arguing with opinions that don't affect your destination. And that restraint? That's power most people never touch. But here's the part that separates people. Can you sit in silence long enough for results to speak? Or will you break just to feel seen again? Because the silence is watching, and it's asking if you really believe in what you're building. Even when nobody's clapping yet. One day they stop asking questions. And that's when you know the silence paid off. This is the part nobody can fake. When results start showing up, explanations become irrelevant. Not because people suddenly understand your journey, but because they can see it. And visibility hits harder than any speech you could have given. Let's be honest. This doesn't happen overnight. There's a long stretch where you're quiet, working, doubted, overlooked, where it feels like everyone else is louder, faster, more celebrated. And your only proof is discipline nobody sees. That's where most people crack. They start talking again, posting again, explaining again. But if you hold the line, something wild happens. People change their tone. The same ones who questioned you now say, "I always knew you had," and you'll catch yourself smiling. Not because they said it, but because you know the truth. They didn't know, you did. And that hit me different. Because silence didn't just protect my energy, it sharpened my focus. I wasn't busy defending myself. I was building. I wasn't rehearsing explanations. I was rehearsing execution. This is where confidence becomes unshakable. Not loud confidence. Not cocky confidence. The grounded kind. The kind that doesn't flinch when attention finally arrives. Because you didn't build this for approval. You built it for alignment. And here's the real win. You stop needing people to understand you at all. You understand yourself. You trust your pace. You respect your process. And that internal agreement? That's freedom. Nobody talks about this, but silence trains leadership. Leaders don't explain every move. They move with intention. They let outcomes speak. They don't argue with noise, they rise above it. So if you're in that quiet season right now, misunderstood, underestimated, resisting the urge to explain, don't rush it. This phase is doing something to you, strengthening your spine. It's teaching you restraint. It's building a presence words could never create. And when the moment comes, when your work finally speaks, you won't feel the need to say, "I told you so." You'll just nod and keep moving.